You, worker bee, face a hornet's scent mark at your hive. In 1-6 hours, 20-30 attackers can collapse thousands of bees. Helm, guard bee, knows doorway brawls fail. Survival begins by understanding this mark. To understand survival, we rewind to the first day. Rewind. You, worker bee, crack a wax cell into a crowded colony. Work begins as bees clean you and warm your body. The queen assigns no choices. Your rank begins as brood nurse in a hive of thousands, already training for hornet season. Under the queen's lessons, you, worker bee, learn the hornet raid sequence. Hunt, slaughter, then occupation of your brood corridors. Without discipline, collapse comes in 1 to 6 hours as bees fall and brood is taken. Take these rules to the entrance. At the entrance beside helm, guard bee, you, worker bee, run antennae checks and alarm choreography to read a recruitment signal fast. Because 20 to 30 hornets can overrun an open doorway, precision matters. A real odor thread drifts in from outside. A hornet hovers and rubs the rim, pheromone flag planted. Observers recorded about 25,000 bees killed in 3 hours by 30 hornets. Typical slaughter windows run 1 to 6 hours. In the worst-case helm, guard bee signals retreat inward to prepare your lure. Inside the comb hall, you, worker bee, hear the countermeasure. Over 500 bees form a ball, raising the core to about 46-47 degrees Celsius. Heat plus roughly 4% CO2 pushes the hornet past 45-46, while workers tolerate near 50-51 degrees Celsius. Next, breach the doorway. At your hive doorway, helm, guard bee, admits one attacker. Counterintuitive, but any delay lets recruitment scent summon 20-30 within 1-6 hours. Admit one hornet to flip odds inside. Doorway breaches become slaughter outside. You, worker bee, retreat to form funnel toward comb hall. You, worker bee, bait the hornet into comb corridors where flanks of bees converge. The passage tightens. The intruder commits and chases. Helm, guard bee, paces your line backward, drawing the attacker deeper toward the pinch, where enclosure teams can surge from both sides. On the signal, hundreds shoulder together until bodies lock. Flight muscles begin to vibrate as the attacker disappears beneath a living wall. You, worker bee, hold position while helm, guard bee, stabilizes the perimeter. Compression increases to form a stable sphere around the hornet. Inside the ball, core heat climbs to about 46 to 47 degrees Celsius as CO2 nears 4%. Heat plus CO2 lowers hornet tolerance rapidly. Hornet limits hover near 45-46 degrees Celsius here. You, worker bee and sisters, endure roughly 50 to 51 degrees Celsius long enough to deliver the decisive falter. With one attacker down, the queen assesses brood corridors and reserves. Outside, typical forces are 20 to 30 hornets focusing on a single hive. After the ball, you, worker bee, stay ready. Danger window runs 1 to 6 hours, so rotations and ventilation prepare second cycle. Outer layers peel as fanners clear heat and CO2. You, worker bee, rotate out while fresh bees step up. The countdown continues within 1 to 6 hour window. The queen signals redeployment toward your hive entrance for the next breach attempt. You, worker bee, hold watch at the hive entrance. Recruitment scent clings. A hornet approaches. Within 1-6 hours, 20 to 30 may breach bees. Prepare the controlled lane for a new admit. You, worker bee, steady position so the next breach flips inside, not outside slaughter. Helm, guard bee, shapes a narrow lane to admit one. Doorway brawls become slaughter, so control converts chaos into your hive advantage. A single intruder crosses the rim. You, worker bee, retreat toward the pinch point corridor, baiting the attacker while the funnel seals behind. You, worker bee, draw the hornet into brood corridors. Cross teams align as escape routes shrink, setting enclosure geometry before reinforcements arrive. Helm, guard bee, signals the choke. Your line steadies, and the next beat readies a full-body seal around the intruder. On signal, over 500 bodies close. Core heat nears 46-47 degrees Celsius as CO2 rises toward 4%, driving the hornet toward failure. You, worker bee, endure near 50 degrees Celsius. Helm, guard bee, holds shell integrity while Hornet tolerance hovers around 45–46 degrees Celsius and motion falters. Aftershock, layers peel as fanners vent heat and CO2. You, worker bee, rotate out so fresh bees restore the brood corridor hum. Helm, guard bee, reposts guards without gaps. Repeated enclosures cost reserves, but readiness climbs again for dawn watch at your hive entrance. At dawn, you, worker bee, reset the funnel. If defenses fail, raids shift from slaughter to occupation, brood theft. So your hive holds formation. Helm, guard bee, confirms positions. Daylight scouts may begin another pattern, but today the line still holds at the doorway. Daylight doesn't ease danger. You, worker bee, spot dark shapes on the approach as recruitment scent lingers, 20 to 30 hornets possible. Helm, guard bee, redirects your eyes homeward. Within 1 to 6 hours a colony can break, so form the entrance funnel. 2 attackers angle for your doorway. Helm, guard bee, snaps, admit 1, never 2, open threshold fights feed slaughter outside your hive. Lane geometry forces single file. You, worker bee, watch 1 hornet commit as helm. Guard bee shuts the door behind. Inside brood corridors, you, worker bee, advance the lure. Cross teams align, distance to the choke narrows. Heating can begin fast if sealed. Helm, guard bee, calls positions. Your attacker enters alignment, and the next beat cuts to the threshold to reveal outside consequences. From the doorway you glimpse outside slaughter. Raids focus on 1 hive. Open combat bleeds bees fast within 1 to 6 hours. Helm, guard bee, reaffirms discipline. Deny combat outside, isolate intruders inside, and cycle teams to avoid a fatal doorway gap. Vent and rotate completes. Fanners clear heat and CO2 from the last enclosure, while you, worker bee, recover and rejoin the line. Helm, guard bee, reforms the funnel instantly. No dead space, because recruitment may still be active within the 1 to 6 hour window. Inside the brood hall, the queen recenters command, reallocating defenders to corridors. If the door breaks, occupation threatens brood. You, worker bee, hold inner positions as orders dispatch teams toward the next approach. Discipline and speed decide whether your colony survives. Inside the brood hall, the queen runs inner command. Corridors are staffed deep to seal if your hive entrance fails. You, worker bee, hold an interior post. Teams dispatch toward the entrance, while hornet raids target brood and bees beyond. From the comb hall, the queen issues crystal command. Admit 1 attacker, never 2. Then isolate and seal inside your hive. You, worker bee, bridge planning to execution as teams redeploy to the entrance, while your bees hold formation against the hornet. Jewel probes hit the door. Helm, guard bee, demonstrates gating control, forcing 1 path while your hive denies the second hornet. You, worker bee, hold the lane as 1 intruder commits. Bait team draws it inward while bees mass at the choke. Inside the ball, core heat climbs to 46 to 47 Celsius as CO2 nears 4%. Vibration saturates the corridor-drawn attacker. You, worker bee, endure while Helm, guard bee, holds shell integrity. Bees outlast as hornet tolerance near 45 to 46 Celsius buckles. Outer layers vent heat and CO2. You, worker bee, rotate out while fresh bees reform inner corridors without exposing the entrance. Helm, guard bee, verifies lane geometry. Controlled cool and repost, avoid hornet attempts, breaking the door as breath returns to your hive. Back in the brood hall, the queen tallies strength and allocates reserves. Isolate and heat remains the plan through the night window. You, worker bee, hold corridors to deter occupation. Your bees are ready when the next hornet wave builds. Darkness wraps your entrance. Buzz gathers beyond the board. You, worker bee, with helm, guard bee, reform the funnel with discipline. Recruitment scent can summon 20 to 30 hornets within 1 to 6 hours. Fresh night watch holds your door as probes stir. 2 hornets faint wide at your entrance. Helm, guard bee, channeling 1 path while you deny the second and protect the funnel. Lane geometry forces single entry. You, worker bee, watch 1 intruder commit while Helm, guard bee, snaps the lane shut behind. Inside the brood corridor blackout, You, worker bee, lead the hornet to the pinch as antennae cues coordinate cross teams without sight. Helm, guard bee, aligns positions, interior choke reached, and the signal will trigger a full enclosure around your attacker. Bodies close. Core climbs about 46 to 47 Celsius as CO2 nears 4%. You, worker bee, hold vibration through darkness. The hornet's limit near 45 to 46 Celsius buckles. Helm, guard bee, maintains shell integrity and prepares the peel and recovery rotation. Outer layers peel, fanners push heat and CO2 out. You, worker bee, rotate off so fresh defenders reform without exposing the doorway. Helm, guard bee, verifies lane coverage. Ventrate restores defenders and holds your hive entrance for the next approach. Silence wavers, then steadies at the doorway. You, worker bee, and helm, guard bee lock posture and hold the funnel tight. Method stands. Admit 1, seal fast, heat toward 46 to 47 Celsius with 4% CO2. Cycle repeats on the next scout. Pre-dawn buzz gathers at the meadow edge beyond the board. You, worker bee, and helm, guard bee, watch the approach. Recruitment scent still matters. Raids can bring 20 to 30 hornets and break a hive within 1 to 6 hours. 2 hornets faint wide at your entrance. Helm, guard bee, blades the lane. You, worker bee, force single file entry. 1 intruder commits, the second is shed. You, worker bee, channel the attacker toward the hive corridor pinch for isolation. Inside the brood hall, you, worker bee, draw the hornet toward the choke. Cross teams align by antennae taps and posture cues. Helm, guard bee, sets the line. Escape routes collapse to a single seal point. The next signal triggers closure. Bodies surge and close. Outer ranks brace while inner ranks begin vibrating. You, worker bee, hold position at your hive core. Helm, guard bee, confirms shell integrity as the hornet vanishes. Heat generation begins under control inside your hive enclosure. Inside the bowl, core approaches 46 to 47 Celsius as CO2 nears 4%. You, worker bee, sustain vibration. Hornet tolerance near 45 to 46 buckles under these conditions. Helm, guard bee, holds perimeter while teams prepare the peel. Stillness confirmed. Outer ranks vent heat and CO2. You, worker bee, rotate off while fresh guards reform the doorway funnel. Helm, guard bee, verifies geometry. Funnel reforms with 0 gap as your hive breathes and bridges to the next approach. Bright midday light at your entrance. Danger window narrows as probes flicker and fade. You, worker bee, keep discipline at the edge. Helm, guard bee, holds the funnel. Your hive cannot relax. If hornet feints gather, you read commits instantly and lock positions. 2 hornets come to the rim. You and helm, guard bee, demonstrate control, shedding both instead of admitting entry to your hive. Funnel tightens. If a true commit comes, you, worker bee, reset the trap instantly, while helm, guard bee, keeps the door sealed. In the brood hall, the queen audits reserves under command. Your colony hums as bees recover from hornet enclosures that held. You, worker bee, account for losses and confirm brood safety. The queen reallocates posts, ready if raids return. The queen delivers why heat wins. Inside the bowl, heat rises with CO2. Hornets fail around 45 to 46 under these conditions. You, worker bee, and sisters endure near 50 to 51 Celsius. Memorize thresholds and carry them back to the entrance. At day's end, the funnel stands. You cannot outfight a monster, but with over 500 sisters, you outheat it. Helm, guard bee, and the queen share the entrance. Your hive resets the cycle together. Until next autumn.